Hello, I'm Lara, Adrian.
And I'm Nalini, Singh, and we're actually on book tour together in Germany. We've had a couple of great signings in Mannheim and Trier, and we've got a couple more to go. Yeah, we're really looking forward to it. We've just enjoyed meeting our fans, and on to you, Lara.
Today we're at our publisher's offices in Cologne, and we have some questions that you've submitted to us, so we're going to be taking turns reading questions that you've submitted and
answering them.
And here we go.
All right, shall I pick one? Sure. Okay, here we go. Who's this one for? This is for you, and the question is, how and when did you come up with the idea about the vampire warriors?
Well, it was probably around 2003 or 2004. I've always been fascinated with the whole Band of Brothers type of an idea, and at the time the United States had just gone into war with Iraq, and my husband and I had been sending a lot of care packages over to the troops, and we would get letters from them, and it just really struck me how these men and women are put together in such a dangerous situation, and they may not always get along, but they form bonds of family that are actually even stronger than family in some cases, because they're relying on each other to protect each other's lives. And it just seemed like a really powerful basis for a series. And I wanted to write about vampires, and it just seemed like it just lended itself very naturally to that. A band of warriors who just happen to have fangs. Okay, and then let's see. Nalini. Is the child of Lucas and Sasha able to change into a leopard, and does it have the strong psi abilities of his mother?
Okay, so I have to be very careful answering this question because the child's gender is not known. So the child will be able to shift because the child is half changeling and half psi, and the changeling shifting genes are always dominant. So yes to that question. As for the second question, you're going to have to wait and see, but genetically, the child will inherit some of their mother's abilities, and what you have to remember, of course, is that Lucas also had psi heritage back a number of generations back, so who knows what the mix will do in the child. So I will pick one for you. Oh, for you. Do you plan to write a short story about Gideon and Savannah?
Yes, I do. That's probably one of the most common questions that I get. Everybody wants a story for them, and it's always been in my mind that I wanted to write a story for them. It will probably be a novella because Gideon and Savannah have actually been together for about 30 years, so to write a full novel for them within the series, it probably doesn't make a lot of sense. But my thinking is I would like to include it in a companion book for the series that would have a lot of the backstory of the series and the character dossiers and interviews and things like that. So the answer is yes. Okay. Oh, it's for me.
Okay.
After the release of the first book, did you expect the Midnight Breed series to become such a great success? No. I don't know, a lot of people don't realize this, but I actually started my career writing historical romances. I wrote 7 of those books, and they didn't find the same readership that my Midnight Breed series is finding, so my expectation was probably very low. I was just simply writing something that I wanted to read and something that gave me great joy to write. So the fact that it's been so successful was definitely not expected, but it's kind of the icing on an already really fantastic cake.
Okay, I will pick one. It's for me. In the Guild Hunter series, will each of Raphael's 7 warriors get his own book, or will Elaine and Raphael be again in the center of the story? Okay, so when I originally started the Guild Hunter series, I never actually intended to write about the 7, but I just fell in love with them and couldn't let go, and so that's why I wrote a book about Dimitri, and I've actually in English have just handed in the book about Jason, which is the next book. But the book after that is actually Elaine and Raphael again. Yeah, and so after that I haven't actually decided who will get a book next, but I'm really conscious of being really true to the characters, and I don't want to force a story, It has to be the right story for that character, and a story that I'm passionate about and that I know readers will be passionate about. So I'm leaving an open mind, and because I get to know my characters, you know, I'm sure as you do, book by book, and so, you know, by the time I finish writing the next Elaine and Raphael book, maybe I'll know who it'll be. So watch this space.
Okay. Nalini, how many books of the Changelings series are still to come?
Well, I always say that somebody will have to pry my cold dead fingers from the keyboard, because I love this series so much. But more seriously, I think, you know, in the story arc, sort of 2 to 4 books in the original story arc to complete that arc. And because I think a strong series needs, you know, a resolution, and then but then, you know, new possibilities will open up, and so you can go on new journeys with me, and some of those will be what I call my tangent books, where you go off and explore parts of the world maybe you haven't seen as much to date, like the Falcons, and also, but you won't completely leave behind the characters you already know, because the world is very connected and very organic. And that's what I really love about it, that there are so many connections. So yeah, there's just a ton to explore, but you know, there will be a resolution to the original story arc, because I think that it's so important. So yeah, exciting things are coming. Okay, so I will pick one. Okay, so this is for me. Do you plan to write a book about Kit and Amara? I don't think you mean that together. So, Kit, yes, I think so, but not now, because he's very young. You know, he's a baby alpha, so really needs to grow into his strength and find out who he is. Before, you know, we're talking like a love story or anything like that. As for Amara, you know, she is truly broken. She is psychologically unstable, so I can't ever see her as a heroine of like a book. But you will continue to see glimpses of her and see how she's changing, or if she's changing, including in book 11 of the series. You know, you just catch a little tiny glimpse of her, but I think it's quite a revealing glimpse. So yeah, no, I've never planned a book for Mara, but as a character, she's so interesting that I don't think I'll always go back to her to see what's happening.
Okay. This one's for me. Which breed warrior is your personal favorite? Well, a lot of authors pick favorites, but for some reason, I feel like I can't pick a favorite. I want to make sure that I'm giving each character ample time and ample attention, and I think it would be so easy to just lavish all of my interest and all of my focus on one particular star of the series. So I try very consciously not to let that happen. I love and hate them all the same in a way, so they all have their moments, but I guess if I had to pick one that was maybe the most significant to me, not necessarily a favorite, but like the most significant, I would have to say that it's Lucan, because he was the very beginning of the series. He's the reason I started writing the series in the first place, so it would be him, I guess.
Cool. So this is for you, I can tell through the paper. How do you like the German covers of your books?
They're awesome. They are awesome. They're my favorites, actually. All of them, I think, are fantastic. We're very professional. Yeah. Nalini, will you reveal the identity of the ghost?
No, never. No, I'm joking. Yes, I will. Actually, it's such a tough secret to keep. Like, every time someone asks me the question, I just want to go, just blurt it out. So, no, you won't have to wait very much longer, because, yeah, I did this interview in English, and the interviewer said, yeah, you've got ghost indigestion. And I said, yeah, I do, seriously. But no, I really love the character, but I think you can't just draw it out, because it's unfair. And also, you know, there is a time and a point when you have to know you have to do the reveal. So it's coming. That's all I'll say. I won't tell you when, but it is. Okay, I will. 2 more questions left, so I will pick. Let's see, this one. Oh no, this is mine, so I'm going to try this one. Yes. Which special abilities does Lupin have?
I get this question all the time because I never actually said in the book. Basically, if you recall, when he made Gabrielle think that he had a police badge in his hand when he didn't. It's kind of a hypnotic manipulation. I never developed his talent the way that I developed the other ones, I think because there was so much going on in the book and I was still getting to know the world. So it never came out in the same way that the other vampires' talents came out. But if you noticed, he had that talent and so did his brother Merrick, who was also in the first book, so that's his talent.
Cool.
Nalini. Up until now, you published books about the Snow Dancer wolves and the Dark River leopards. Do you think you might write about other changelings as well, like the rats, maybe?
Well, I guess I answered it a little bit earlier, but I definitely would like to write about the falcons, just because they're so interesting and so different, and I just think it would be cool to go into their world. But actually, it's funny how many people ask me about the rats, and they're not the natural type of hero, a rat shapeshifter. Yes. So I never really thought about it, but of course Tejan, the alpha of the rats, or the leader of the rats, he's really cool. He's fascinating. He's this, he's like a GQ model. He's always slick, and he's just really interesting. And of course, he is heroic because he's held his people together in some very bad situations. So, I think it's more likely that the story will be told throughout the books as opposed to a standalone story. Mm-hmm. But they're a definite part of the world. So you just, you'll keep seeing them and you'll learn more about them. But I know I don't see a standalone for the rats. Yes, for the falcons. And in book 11, you meet another changeling pack. And there are possibilities there, so I'm going to explore them in those tangent books I talked about, and we'll go off in exciting new directions. And Sounds I think good. That's all the questions. So
thank you for submitting them.
Yeah,
it was
that was
our pleasure
fun.
To answer them.
Yeah.